Hi, this is the Magnificent Midlife Podcast and I'm Rachel Lancaster. This is where we celebrate women in midlife and beyond. We challenge the status quo and bash those negative stereotypes about being an older woman. We're not over the hill at 40, 50, 60. We're just getting started. And the world needs us now more than ever. I'll be talking all things midlife, about issues that matter, and sharing fabulous stories of amazing women doing very cool stuff. Now is our time. My guest today is Josephine Pembroke, and she is a performer and podcaster. She trained at Drama Studio and has been in many bands, cabaret and theatre productions. She is currently starring in her own show, The Working Girls of Soho, which premiered at the Edinburgh Festival. The very first podcast that I was a guest on was Josephine's very fabulous Radio Gorgeous, when Magnificent Midlife didn't yet exist, and I was all about my magazine site, The Mutton Club. It is wonderful to finally host Josephine on my podcast despite lots of technical issues. Welcome, Josephine.
Hello, hi, how are you?
I'm very well, how are you?
Very, very well, yes.
It's really good to not see you because for the first time I can't see my guest, which is very disconcerting.
Because I'm a strange voice in your head.
You are the strange voice in my head. So I'll have to imagine what you look like, although I know what you look like.
I'm wearing a fishtail dress, bouffant hair, false eyelashes, lying on a silken bed surrounded by nubile men.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's a sight for sore eyes, I'm sure.
Well, I'm not allowing you to see me because you should be seeing what they're doing to my feet at the moment.
Oh my goodness. So, how come you are back on the stage after all these years?
Well, I suppose, midlife. I mean, that's the word, isn't it? We really only have 20 or 30 active years left on this planet at this stage.
No, we've got more than that.
Well, I'm 60, so 70, 80, 90.
100?
Okay.
That's the
all
new
right.
normal.
Okay, but I don't know whether they'd like to see me do... Well, they might like to see my show at 100, but I'm hoping then to be doing something else. But I just think you've got to do all those things that you've got a list of, or you've got it nagging in the back of your brain, or you've got this awful thing where you think, I'm never going to do it. You can. And this is what I've done. I've gone and done it.
I know. And the show is spectacular. I have seen it at a theatre that has now closed. Did you know that?
Oh, yes.
The King's Head in Islington.
Yes, it's opening again in a new space around the corner.
But the pub version has closed. So
Yeah.
that's what your show did. It closed the theatre.
Yes, it does. I do have that effect on things. But I'm performing at another theatre in November, which is a tabard theatre, a tiny little theatre, 80-seater in Chiswick, again attached to a pub, which is quite, good. And then I'm doing a one in Soho at a private members club, but anyone can come, which is rather nice of them. And that's on a Friday night on October the 20th. And that's called the Century Club. Have you been there?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's
but
lovely.
I'm not sure that we will publish this before that, so we'll have to do something.
Okay.
This may be going out after that, but there will still be opportunities to see you because you're going to run, aren't you?
Yes, I am running and running. Yes.
So what's the show about? Tell everybody.
Well, I was sitting next to Giles Brandreth at dinner.
As you do. Yeah, right.
And I said to him, oh, I'm going to start singing again. And he went, oh, Josephine, you really, singing's marvellous, but you have to have a show. And I said, okay, well, what sort of thing? He said, look at your life and think about what you've done, which could be interesting, and put it into a show. So I looked back on my nowadays life feels quite long. And I looked back and I thought, well, I lived in Soho in the 80s, and apparently that's meant to be, young people are impressed by that. I think I met you in Soho. I'm very at home there. And I did live in Soho in the 80s, so I thought, right, I'm going to find out women, her story, not history. I'm going to find women who have not been talked about enough, who worked and lived in Soho. And without them, Soho wouldn't be what it is today.
So, tell us more.
So I spent a year, because I had researching skills now because I was a podcaster. So I spent a year reading up, going to libraries, interviewing people, look things up on website, joining the British Library, looking up newspapers, reading lots of books, which you have to find on Aid Books because they're all defunct now, And then I found some amazing personalities. And it's basically tip of the iceberg who I'm talking about, because there's been so many amazing women there. And I taught from women from the 18th century all the way through to the 1990s.
And you've made it into your very own cabaret show, haven't you?
Yes, because what I do is I talk about the women, not for too long, because it'd be a bit dull if I just stood there and talked, but I literally chat about these incredible women who had these exceptionally amazing lives, which I can tell you about in a minute. And then I sing a song in between, which is sort of not about them, but reflects Soho. So songs, Love for Sale, which is about a prostitute, or what other ones do I sing? Gotta Have a Gimmick, that's from Gypsy, so that's about girls who work in burlesque clubs, So it's got that sort of taste about it, but I'm not a burlesque dancer, I'm more of a self-made show-off on stage, which can be entertaining. And it's really exciting because since you've seen my show, I've now got a band.
A band as well. Well, I know you had backup dancers when I came.
Yes, but now I've got the Soho boys.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
All under 30 again, which helps. And they are beautiful and they play piano, double bass and saxophone.
Wow.
So that's great. So it swings now.
It's growing and growing.
Yeah, and I have more costume changes as well. That's one of the things. So I have to have a dresser, which is really exciting. So these people come from Les Mis or, whatever show they're working on, and they just say, oh, I'll take the night off and I'll come and do your show because it sounds so exciting.
Lovely.
And they come along they're kind of West End people and they kind of change my outfits really quickly because that's their job. To do it in 1.5 seconds,
But does that mean you've lost that section, which actually I found very entertaining, when you go off and you're obviously changing, but you've got this either pre-recorded or you're talking from your dressing room and you're telling the audience what's,
That was a one-off.
Was it?
That was a one-off. Yeah, that was because the King's Head Theatre would only let me perform for an hour. And normally I'd have an interval then where people would order more rosé or cocktails. And so I had the idea that day.
That was fun. I enjoyed that.
That you would hear me live talking from the dressing room.
Oh, I think you should reinstate that. It was brilliant. Okay. It was you talking live from the dressing room.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, pretending to. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So it sounded, and I was like, oh, can't fit into this, and oh, stop that.
It was hilarious.
About the audience.
I like that.
That was a bit of a wild night because the King's Head Theatre, there's a reason why it's moved. It's moved because it is the most leaking health and safety did not exist there. I'm really pleased that the new space will have it. I can say this now I'm out of it. There was a rainstorm and there was rain pouring down our dressing room walls. Hail came into our dressing room. Oh my
goodness.
We had to kind of move everything quickly, and then to get on the stage, there were about 8 steps, which were all uneven. I mean, it really was. And I was wearing sort of 7-inch heels.
I know. I don't know how you managed to wear those.
It really was the most challenging of venues, I could say.
Well, it didn't show. Exactly. I certainly didn't notice any of that. I didn't see any dripping anywhere.
Exactly. And I had hailstones in my wig. Actually, I don't think I wore a wig.
Oh, my
I'm exaggerating that. So I talk about women from the 18th century. So there's an amazing woman called Teresa Cornelise, who was the first ever club runner in Soho, e.g., nowadays, everyone's got a club in Soho. She was the first person because it was a place where aristocrats lived when it first started, because it was away from the city and it was in the countryside, Soho. So they built these beautiful Georgian squares and it was away from all the smog and dirt and smells. And it was called Soho because they used to hunt hares north of Oxford Street. Can you believe it? And Soho was a French cry for hares. So they go, Soho, Soho, you know, so the hare would know they're after them.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew
Isn't that incredible? So she came over. Teresa Cornelius was originally from Venice, and she was Venetian, and she was an opera singer, and she performed all over Europe, and she was a bit on her she was totally on her uppers when she arrived in England, when she was 36, which was seen as very old and past it. Her opera career went really badly. She couldn't speak any English. She was Roman Catholic. She had 2 bastard children, one from Casanova, the lover, who she got off with when she was 18.
Oh, my goodness.
And she was divorced and couldn't speak a word of English and absolutely broke. Within 6 months of her arrival, she managed to persuade a married Norfolk vicar to rent her the largest mansion in Soho Square, Carlisle House. Unfortunately, it's been knocked down now, but it was massive. And the whole top floor was bedrooms, so everyone could have sex with each other, which is So people were desperate. Even House of Commons shut early so that they could come, you know, they wouldn't miss these parties. And they were masquerades because being an Italian, she knew how to put on a masquerade, which was a mage. You know, it was like nowadays, I don't know what's in now. Nowadays, kind of S&M clubs are really in and dressing up in leather and going out. But then it was all about wearing outrageous costumes, a bit similar to now, and trying to get in. So her job being the runner of the club was deciding whether you were in or whether you were out, which obviously made her the most powerful woman in London at her time.
Wow.
So she was a very clever woman. She made a fortune, lost a fortune, and ended up living in Knightsbridge, which again was a tiny little village, and milking ewe's milk because it was seen as a beauty product.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so there's all these little tidbits and all sorts of wonderful information in your show.
Exactly, and you would never have heard of this Teresa Cornelius.
No.
I mean, you know, and she should be famous. Why is there no blue plaque of her?
Because she's a woman, that's why.
Yes, exactly. And then when I told someone about this, I said, oh, but there was an amazing madam living opposite her, you know, so I've got to research the madam that lived opposite her, who was even more successful, apparently. So it's so amazing that these women, they did it because they needed, well, usually they needed the money, but it also made them into an independent woman, which in those days you were owned by your husband. So it was actually a better position to be in because you weren't owned by anyone, you earned money and you didn't give a shit. Because you weren't in society in that way. You weren't accepted in the sort of court circles, but you could have a very, very good time, you know, with all the decadent aristocrats.
Who were all hot-footing it down to Soho.
Exactly. And they also lived there.
Ah.
They lived there then. And then it went through a really bad phase of becoming very poor and slums. And that's when the immigrants started coming in. And that's really what Soho is famous for. It's famous for being a place where foreigners lived because the whole of the rest of London was, you know, more kind of British people. East End was Cockneys, you know, in all the areas. But then this was the first place, the largest immigration that we ever had in Britain compared to now was the Huguenots coming. Mm-hmm. They came in their thousands and they all, well, a lot of them went to go and live in Soho. So it became known as the French Quarter, Soho. And that's why there's a pub called the French House now. And that's why there's Huguenot churches and Catholic churches all around Soho. And because of that, that's when the Italians came over. They came and lived in Soho because they liked the thing that the Catholics were there. So then it became that these people started making food that they had in their own towns. And so suddenly people would be able to go to a place in London where you could eat foreign food.
And it
which
all
was really
started
exciting.
in Soho.
It did, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I knew it was a cool place. Yeah. I've always loved Soho, and it still has that
evolving.
Yeah, it still has that
international
feel to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With Chinatown there. And,
yeah. And also, they one of the main things about it has no main road through it. Well, apart from Shaftesbury Avenue, which is quite recent. It was built in the 1840s. That's quite recent, really. So it's kind of got its own feeling. It's kind of tight knit.
Yeah, it's lots of little back streets, isn't it?
Yeah. And that adds to the atmosphere. I mean, the only very sad thing is the working girls aren't there so much anymore because the gangsters, there's still quite a few gangsters that run Soho, they found that they can make more money from Airbnbs.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that sad?
Oh my
Airbnb
goodness.
has taken the flats of those lovely girls that were busy, with men, women, or whoever.
Wow. My goodness, you're a gem of useful
Um,
information, aren't you?
exactly. Yes,
Airbnb
and
instead of brothels. Wow.
I know, it's terribly sad. Yeah, the way the world's going, more commercial. Independent women, we need our jobs. Yeah.
So what was it like when you actually lived there?
Well, I was called a bohemian, which meant that I didn't really do anything apart from try and be famous, try and be on stage. Ended up lying on pianos and piano bars at night and singing, all very unorganized because I was young and drunk all the time. Being a bohemian was all about being drunk and dressing up in dressing gowns, and I'd go out in pajamas and dressing gowns, and I'd live this life where it was all champagne cocktails and dancing all night. And I had this lovely room, which seemed quite big. It was a studio with it's a Georgian building on Dean Street above Santiago's hairdresser, which is just closing now, very sadly. It's probably going to be turned into luxury flats.
Or Airbnb.
Or Airbnb, yeah. I was above there in one room, and I had a shower, I had a baby belling in the back, and I had a mini fridge, and that's how I survived, yeah. And the rent was £45 a week.
You can remember.
Oh, yeah, because it was such a good deal even then.
So when was that?
1984 until 1987. Yeah.
Well, about 2 years after that, I was in a bedsit in Pimlico. So not a million miles away, and I had a baby belling and had to go outside to use the loo.
I don't think bedsits exist anymore.
No, I don't.
I think they've all been turned into studio flats, which have been sold.
Because people don't tend to. Well, I think they have single occupancy. Like there are houses of multiple occupancy, aren't they? Where they just have one room, but it's very small.
Okay, but it wouldn't be called a bedsit.
Probably not. No, it's not big enough to be a bedsit. It's just a room. No. And then you have to go outside to use the toilet. We used to have to put money in the meter to get electricity. Yeah.
God.
But we did have a view of the Thames.
Wow.
I know. So we were on one of these beautiful squares in Pimlico, right on the river. And we had the front bay room that was a bedsit. And we had a view of the river. We had to sort of, contort ourselves to be able to see the view of the river. It wasn't a big view, but we could see it. So that was kind of made up for.
And what was your first job when you came to London?
Oh, gosh. I was a secretary in a language school.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. So you met lots of young people.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't like that because I wanted to be the teacher. It was an English language school, and Had
you done TEFL course?
I hadn't at that stage. Yes, I had. I had done the TEFL course, yes, but they wouldn't give me a job as a teacher, only as a secretary.
So gosh,
I know.
Poor you.
I know. Yeah. I was a bit annoyed about that.
Not very good. Well, haven't you come a long way? We're both here.
I know. And we're talking to each other, over internet.
I know. No, it is incredible.
It is amazing, isn't it? Yeah, it is amazing.
London, and also London the 80s, it really was booming, so it was quite an exciting place. It was constant champagne, shoulder pads.
Well, not for me, it wasn't. You were living the life of Riley. I mean, Giles Brandreth. I wasn't. There was no champagne for me at that time.
Oh, shame. Yeah, well, look, when you go to the Soho Brasserie, there are always people like Patsy Kensit there, Spandau Ballet, Boy George was on the door of all, I knew him. I mean, it was such a small world, the club scene, it was a small world. So if I remember one night going to Steve Stranger's house, gorgeous house in Notting Hill Gate. And I said, oh, can I go to the loo, please? And they said, yeah, just through there. And I opened the door, and the bathroom was just head to toe Pierrot dolls. I was like, oh my God, I'm terrified. Get me out.
Wow.
No, it was being young. I mean, that's when I was sort of 18, 19. And I think being a young girl in London then, you know, you had wings, you know, and no one ever asked you, you know, it wasn't like now. And also everyone was gentlemen, you know, nothing really happened to me untoward, really. You know, it was all quite innocent in a strange way, going to these clubs and just hanging around, you know, with these people. Pop stars.
So what's it like being a cabaret star in your 60s?
It's quite a shocking thing to tell people because I'm now on now dating again. And I really don't put it ever on a dating site because it makes me sound, I mean, my name's Josephine already, and that people, I went out with a man the other day and he said, is that your real name? In other words, I already sound like a lady of the night. Cabaret star does sound a little bit like, oh dear, what's she up to? Is she doing burlesque? You know, how far does she go? So I keep that totally secret. And then it's very hard to sort of bring it up, you know. But if they're really boring and I don't want to get off with them, I really, really tell them about it. And if I do really like them, I sort of hold it back a bit, you know, just say, oh, yes, I work on the stage a bit and blah, 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 you know, but I don't sort of say, oh, I talk about, you know, naughty ladies and, you know, naughty women and sex. Might scare, but they are terrified anyway.
Well,
when they meet me.
Yeah, you're quite terrifying.
You know.
In a good way.
Yeah, but they are terrified. But so as my friend said, you're going to kiss a lot of frogs. She's American. You're going to kiss a lot of frogs, Josephine, until you get there, you know. So I'm having fun frog kissing, and it involves a lot of dinners. That's one of it, or lunches. And I always get my wallet out and say, oh, I'd love to pay. And they go, no.
But you're talking about dating. I was asking about what's it like for you to actually be doing cabaret on the stage.
Natural.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. I mean, honestly, I'm more at stage, Rachel, than I am on a bus. I mean, stage is literally, I find every day quite difficult. You know, just being a normal person is quite difficult, but being on stage and singing and dancing and entertaining people is where I'm happiest and where I'm most at home.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant that, you know, you've gone back to it after all this time and you've created something so unique and so entertaining and just so...
Yes, well, it is comedy as well. The head of it wasn't planned, but the woman who is the director of the whole of the Edinburgh Festival came along to my show and she said, Josephine, honestly, I came to you by accident, but I think you should go into comedy. And I was like, oh my God, I've never thought of that. So I'm not going into comedy. I'm just carrying on doing my show. But just to let you know that it is funny as well as sad, isn't it? There are sad moments too.
It's brilliant. It's pure entertainment.
Yeah,
and it's sort of life, and it's really great. Yeah, highly recommend.
I like to be vulnerable on stage as well as funny. You know, which is what being a human being is really. Yeah. No, I can't tell you. It's given me so much confidence.
Good. Not that you were lacking that, probably.
No, I think it probably has. Exactly. But it just has, because I own this. I created it. I wrote it, you know. Okay, the songs, just to let everybody know, the songs are old songs, which you hopefully will know quite a few of them, because I can't stand it when people say, and now I'm going to sing my own song. And it's really bad. Don't worry. I won't bore you to death. I'll sing songs that you like, and I'll sing songs that are entertaining, funny, or moving, and they're jazz, cabaret, and show standards. Musical theatre.
And it's fun. It's you having fun, and, you know, you're creating fun for everybody else.
Because I'm having fun, everybody else feels like they can let their hair down.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's very much a women's show. Men are, you know, a bit terrified when they watch it, and women are cheering away. I mean, I always have this effect. When I had my band Pussies Galore.
Oh yes, tell us about Pussies Galore.
Well, that was a tongue-in-cheek name, a kind of post-feminist name in the 90s, taking the mickey out of women that, you know, tried to be sexy. And Pussies Galore we were the three Bond girls. And I was Pussy, I was the lead singer, and I created the band and I styled the band and I got the gigs, and it's very much what I'm doing now, sort of in charge. And then I had Lady Penelope, Penny from Wales, and then I had Pretty Pretty, who was Louise Ness from Glasgow. And both of them had backgrounds in performing and theatre. And we performed, we were such a hit. This was pre-Spice Girls. We performed all over London, all over Britain, abroad. And it was fabulous. I can't tell you. I mean, what I did was I got James Bond songs and I rewrote the lyrics and made them quite funny and interesting. And then I kind of got backing tracks to make it sound like nightclub music. So we performed at places like Pasha, the Hacienda, Heaven, Café de Paris. And women would come to the front and scream, yeah, yeah, go, go. And men would stand at the back and cover their balls.
What on earth is this?
Yeah, they were terrified of these women because we'd have cat fights on stage. You know, we'd have guns on stage. Don't know if we can do that now. No, it was really fun. Can't tell you. And we had a complete laugh. And we were constantly in magazines, newspapers, interviews and telly, which was quite fun.
So did you miss that when life moved on?
Yes. It all broke down because Lady Penelope was my best friend and she left to go and live abroad. And then I got a letter. I was just about to get a record deal and I got a letter from the man saying, we're not giving it to you because we've just heard you've got married and you're 28. Like, nowadays that wouldn't be relevant.
Grief. Really?
Yeah, they were really ageist. And I sort of lost heart and then I became a radio presenter instead, which took a bit of time, but I did it. But it was really hard. I know this sounds really, really, really superficial, but you do realise you get addicted to press. You get addicted to getting attention from people.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to kind of get married and we had no money and we were staying in and I was used to being so independent and the first year of marriage was really difficult and I lost Pussies Galore and I moved from my own house into a flat with him. I don't know, it was just suddenly I felt quite restricted. But then I thought, well, I'm 30. I thought I was really old.
And now you're double that and you realise you're not.
Well, double that, left him, and now I'm back on track. Yeah. 30 years with him of very much highs and lows, and now I'm back independent and free.
And you're enjoying yourself, aren't you?
I really am, yes. Yeah, probably a bit too much. Got to get a bit more focus.
But why?
Got to get my routine back.
Why do you need to
Because I'm constantly just having too much fun. I've got, honestly, I can't tell you. Fun gets a little bit much. I really want to.
Why is it wrong to have too much fun? I don't really understand that.
Because
are you hurting anybody by you having too much fun?
Yes. Well, I'm quite a disciplined person. So I'm writing a new show. I've got my singing practice. I've got my, you know what I mean? I need to get back into the flow of me being creative, really. Yeah.
So it's only you that's missing out by having too much fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right.
No one else has complained.
That's all right then. I was thinking, I think you should just carry on having lots of fun.
Yeah, it's just me being disciplined, which my friends have said I've always had, which I'm quite shocked about because I come across as this person which is quite wacky but I think to get your shit together, you do have to have a certain discipline.
Well, you're not going to be able to create and put on a show like you've done without a certain degree of discipline, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness me, you know, from concept to research to writing to finding the people to do it with you to finding the people that would let you put it on and then doing it. Yeah. Hats off to you, Josephine. I think it's amazing.
Thanks so much. Well, same to you with your mutton club morph into midlife person.
You see, I was Sally Bowles in cabaret at school. Yeah.
So you're a frustrated cabaret
I'm a frustrated cabaret singer. I wanted to be a jazz singer. That was what I wanted to be, Well,
why don't you do it now? There's fantastic courses at the City.
Really?
Yes. Brilliant courses in jazz, in show tunes, and they often have a little concert at the end of the term, and you can do it in the evenings or in the day. Yeah, it's really good. That's how I always get back on the stage. I join courses or I join a choir or I find someone to give me singing lessons.
I've been in a choir on and off for a long time, and I was in a gospel choir, and yeah, we won Gospel Choir of the Year. Boom! I was on telly.
And what are you? Are you mezzo, soprano?
I have a very broad range. I have gone from soprano to tenor.
Fantastic. That's really good.
Not sure. I'm probably, I think as I get older, it probably goes down.
Goes deep.
Deeper. Yeah.
No, you have to really work on your higher voice when you get older.
Yeah, that's what I've struggled with. But I haven't, COVID sort of put the kiboshes on that, and I haven't really gone back to it.
Well, I think you've got to start on, there are musical theatre choirs as well.
Well, I think I like this idea of a city lit course in jazz singing. Really I think that could be very good.
Yeah. But I'd say the musical theatre course there's the best that they do.
Thank you very much. I shall go and check it out.
The musical theatre, you can go in and sing jazzy songs.
Yes.
And it's more about performance as opposed to like in the jazz course, you're learning more about sort of jazz notation things, which can be a little bit dull, Whereas you just want to get up and sing, baby.
I do, but I also like to improvise.
Okay.
Like a Ella,
Right oh, maybe the jazz one is right for you. Yeah, they have Jazz Singing 1. You can do it.
I shall check that out. Thank you very much.
I've done all these things. Yeah. I mean, I do think that's the thing, because you don't know where to start in life. It's like you have an idea and you think, how do I get this off the ground? Well, go learn.
Yes.
I've really found that. Go courses, go on, join things, then you meet like-minded people, and that's how you end up doing things, instead of dreaming.
Yeah. And you're the epitome of that. I think
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well done you. So, what have you learned about yourself by going back onto the stage?
I think the main thing I've learned is that just, again, anything's possible, and that I am very good when things go wrong. I'm very good at improvising, like you say. So I really like it when things go wrong on stage.
Do you?
Because then
I'd hate that. I couldn't go with that, I don't think.
Yeah. No, I love it when things go wrong, because then I can sort of relax and really be myself, as opposed to sticking to the script, which I really enjoy. And I can play, because I think, that's what the theatre's about, playing. It's called Let's Put on a Play. So it's about joy. And I think the thing about putting on a show is that you've got to show joy. And as I said earlier, the other side, sort of tragedy, and if you can get both into a show, and I do feel I can deliver that, that's the one thing I'm very proud of, I'd say, more than anything. When I get off stage, my daughter aged 27, so she's not that young, she said, "Mummy, you all right? You were so unhappy on stage." And I go, "Yes, darling, it was acting." But it's so sweet that she really believed, because I believe it at the time. I think that's how you are good on stage. You've really got to feel it. And if you, that thing about, learn your lines and don't bump into furniture, that's complete rubbish. To be a good actor, you go on stage, and if you're singing a song or talking about something, you feel every word. And that's what being an actor is, feeling, and people can feel it with you.
Yeah, you've got to embody the role, haven't you?
Yeah. So I'm really excited because I'm writing another show now, and it is going to be more acting. You know how comedians always end up becoming actors. So that's quite exciting. But it's going to be a one-woman show again, because I don't want to rely on. I do find other people, as much as I love them, you don't want to have to rely on them. So it's a one-woman show again with a pianist.
Brilliant. Well, I shall look forward to coming to see that when it's on.
Well, that's going to be next August. Hopefully that's going to be launched. But before that, I'm just going to be doing the Working Girls of Soho, Saucy Tales of Notorious Women.
Brilliant. Yeah. And what are your parting words of wisdom for my audience? What would you most like to impart to them?
If there's something inside you and you know the feeling, it's that burning feeling that nothing else will take its place. Just follow it and start off by literally doing something really small every day towards it. And I mean tiny, because that's the only way you can get there. I really believe in baby steps. just every day you just do one thing. So if I'm a singer, then I just do one thing, like I do rehearsal. And then I look at a song and I'll sing it through. If you want to be a PR, you go on a PR course, or you want to, I don't know, become a healer. You start going to a healer and then you go on a healing weekend course. It's all about putting yourself out there and doing something that you really find frightening, and you will be rewarded in more ways than you can ever imagine.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Magnificent Midlife Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, follow and share it. Also, giving a 5-star review really helps get the word out. You'll find the show notes at magnificentmidlife.com. That's also where you can get my book, Magnificent Midlife, Transform Your Middle Years, Menopause and Beyond. Make the very best of your next chapter. Help me change the world, one magnificent midlife woman at a time.